So we're back in our bubble editor in our index page, and we need a way to display the information that we now should be getting from make. State variables, let's do it. So we got a couple state variables that we're gonna include, and then we're gonna include those in our workflows so they get updated and display everything like it should. Now, let's make these state variables at the group or parent level. So we'll come up here, we'll start making our states. The first thing we want to display is the text from the video. So we'll just call it YouTube transcript. That way we know we're displaying the transcript. It's going to be a text. Go ahead and create that. The default value we'll leave empty. Then we want to display a source title. So we'll say source title. And then we can just select our type of text and we'll go ahead and create. So once we have that, then we need one more thing, and that's going to be the article itself that gets generated. So we'll say generated article, and that will be text as well. Great. Now let's go ahead and display the state variables that we just made. Come and edit our YouTube transcript. Let's look for that parent group. So come down here to group source, and then you have all of our custom states. So this one is going to be the, well, it looks like we named two of them source title like a moron. So let's come fix that. Go back up to our group, and we have source title. We actually want to name one of them source text, like so. Great. So now we have that. Let's go back to group source. Now we should have group source text and group source title. So we'll come group source title. And then we want to display, of course, our article. So group source and the generated article. Great. So that's all of our text. Let's make this a bit bigger just so we can display all the information. So we don't want a max height. We'll fit height to content. Now, once we have that displaying correctly, let's go into our backend workflows and actually change those variables based off responses. So right now, we have to change the state variable at the very end of this workflow when the button submit is clicked. So we'll come down here, we'll actually just go down to element actions, and then we'll set a state. And the state we're going to change here is the source title and source text. So let's start with our source text. So group source, the custom state is going to be our source text. Now the value is actually going to be our result of step 3, the YouTube scraper. And then you want to get that transcript. Let's go ahead and format as text. Now in here, we actually want to do something else, which is select the transcriber transcript, and then just get the snippet. And that's what we're going to be displaying. So we can close that, and we should be all set there. And then let's create our next state variable. So we'll set another state. The element is the group source. The state is the title. So for our value, we're going to select step 2, and then we'll get that title. So result of step 2, title. And then we should be good to go displaying those sources. So back to our design. And now we need to add a workflow to our generate article button, which updates our generated article. So to do this, let's add another step, set our element action, we'll set state, and then we'll get our group source, our generated article. Now for the value of this, we're actually going to be looking in our database for something because that's where the article is going to get stored from make. So let's find out how we can do that. Well, we can do a search for, we can select an article, we can add a constraint, and then we have a created by, and we want it created by equal to the current user. Now you're not looking for all the article information. So when you select first item, you want first item's text. And that's going to be what we're displaying as the article. Now let's see this in action. Let's see what kind of errors we get along the way, if there is any. And let's see if we can't debug them together and get this working. Let's go to preview. Let's grab one of Brett's YouTube's links and we'll just copy and paste it. Back to our preview, and we'll enter in the YouTube link. Now let's go step by step, see what happens as it does it. So we have button is clicked. Let's run next. We extract the YouTube video ID. So we'll have this link and its value. Run next. We get the ID. That's great. Let's run next. Then we send that ID. So you can see here we get this undefined. Now, what does this mean? Well, it's a problem with our text or how we're formatting it. So we have to go and look into that. We can see we get our title as well as our URL, and that is all correct. So we're good to go there. Let's go back and see if we can't format this a little bit better. One thing I want to look at is this layout really quick. Let's have give this a max height because I don't want to be displaying the this huge long paragraph. Let's do 500 pixels or even like 300 just to give us the preview. We could even format that differently. So if we came up here to like format and we just do a certain amount of characters, so we could do like number of characters or number of words, anything like that. We'll go ahead and ignore that for now, but that is something you could look into doing. Now, let's go into our workflow, and this happens in our submit button, so we'll edit the workflow. And where I think it's happening is where we're formatting as text the source. So you can see here we didn't actually add anything in our content to show per the list. Just getting that undefined, doesn't know what to do. So we'll add that transcriber snippet, and that should fix it from undefined to actually displaying the text. Let's close that. Let's go back. Let's see what kind of errors we run into now. So we'll give it a refresh to update, enter the link, submit, run through the steps again. And let's see, we now get the text as we should. So that's all of the transcription. And then it looks like we're setting the state correctly. So you can see we got the title here, and we can verify this back on the video. So even that in itself is super cool that we're actually able to do this. You can see the transcript that is generated here. So again, literally insane how we're able to do this with no code, just using pre-built elements and no code tools like this. Still blows my mind. Now, what's the next thing we need to do? Well, let's generate an article. Generate, we'll run next, see the parent group source. Looks like we're getting text undefined again. So we'll have to look into that. Let's go on. We have our source title and our source text is undefined. Let's run next again. And we, of course, are getting undefined. Why is that? We're getting the title, but it looks like we have unexpected token M in JSON 18, position 18. Now, I've had an error like this before, so we can correctly assume where to fix this, which is our API call. Let's go back and look at what's going on. So we're in our plugin, go back to send to make. We scroll down, and I can already look at this and see that these quotes are not needed as they'll already be there, and that's why we're probably getting undefined. So let's get rid of our source title and text quotes, but leave them for article ID and user ID, as those do need to be converted to strings. Now, we have to remember that we did a couple scenarios where we're looking for articles and text and titles from the source based off the current user. So we have to make sure that we're running from an actual user and not just logged in as anonymous or not associated with any user at all. So come to data, and let's run as a test user. We'll run as, let's input the link, submit, run through the steps we know work, and we get everything displaying correctly. Let's generate an article, run next, look at the source, see we get some text. Okay, we're sending the text, so that looks good. Body source, then we have our source title. Let's run next again. And then it sets the state as empty. So, well, what happened there? Did anything run? Well, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you actually have a run once initiated, and we want to wait for data. So we got to wait for something. So let's go back. Let's generate article again, and let's see what happens. We'll run next, send it over, and it should set the state. Let's go over to make and see this happen live. So it's probably waiting to set the state in bubble. It looks like everything was successful here. If we come back, though, we don't see anything here. Let's check our database. Let's go to our database, and we'll go into our articles. Okay, so you see it displays in our database. Like it actually wrote an article. So this is honestly super cool that it just did this, but we're not displaying it correctly on our front end. So since that article is not displaying correctly, we need to change how we're doing that because it's setting the state variable before anything is happening. So instead of setting a state variable, let's just search our database for when that item populates. So we'll do a search for, we're searching for an article, and we want to find the created by equal to our current user. So once we have that set up, then we want to find the first item and go ahead and display that. And we want to find the first item's text. Make sure you select text. Go to that. I want to make sure my database is empty, so all articles are out. Just so we have a fresh, no articles in our database. Now let's go ahead and run as our new user. And go ahead and make sure you're listening on make for new data. So make sure that's running. Make sure you're operating as a current user. Go ahead and submit that YouTube link in. We'll run next. It's getting all the information, and fingers crossed, we're displaying the article that gets generated. Let's do a step-by-step. We'll generate the article, run next again, all the way to the end. Let's keep running next, and it should be loading, waiting for that to make. And you can see, we're the greatest bubble developers ever to walk the face of the earth. What we just did is literally insane. If you think about not doing any code, not building any of this out ourselves, we took a random YouTube video, we transcribed the data, converted it to text, got all the information associated with that YouTube, sent that to Make, put it through OpenAI's model, gave it some prompts, and generated a new article, updated our Bubble database, and then displayed that information back on our Bubble page. And you can see it generated us a nice long article. And of course, you can change the prompts to make this however you want. But honestly, it's incredible that you're actually able to do this. And you're at that stage yourself to be building applications just like Revamped was built, because this is exactly how it was built. And the whole purpose of showing you that was to prove that you can now do an exact SaaS. And this just goes to show that you yourself can now build applications like we just did with Revamped. You can now do that same functionality and make even more creative applications. And with that, I hope you learned a ton in our little Revamp section here, and I can't wait to see what you go out and build yourself. So, till then, I will see you in the community, of course. And again, best of luck to you. I can't wait to see what you do.